So the Nexx racing shocks for the TRX4M, which is what I have on this build right here, were so good that they decided they were just going to make shocks for everything. Oh, great. Spilled the cat food. Y'all think I'm lying, but no, for real. I just spilled the cat food. So I'm going to start out installing a set on the Ascent18 here, but as you can see, they have each pair of shocks with and without the reservoir. So we've got with and without for each one of these, and they also have different colors. I just chose black and blue for my colors. As you can see, 6 shocks in here for the Arktos. So you've got with and without on those as well. Shocks for everybody. We're going to start here. I just want to see how these 59 millimeters affect this build, and then we'll work our way around to the rest of these at some point. Real quick, just so you can sort of see the difference in these shocks. These have a really nice aluminum body to them. Even the lower cap down here, the spring retainer, is aluminum. They come with oil in them, and not a single one of these packs have any trace of oil in them. So that means none of these are leaking, and I haven't had any of these leak yet. So they seem to hold the oil very well. Compared to stock here, you can see the difference in length, but when you compress them, they compress to stock length. A lot of times if you go with a longer shock, a bigger, longer shock, what hurts you is they don't compress very far. So you'll have a longer shock, but it compresses to, you know, also be longer, something like this. So you're not really gaining much of anything in my opinion, but these actually have more travel overall. So it's gonna be quite a bit of flex on this truck. I normally don't want that much flex. You can see the difference here between the Nexx shock and the stock. So we're gonna have a lot of travel on this thing. I'm curious to see how it performs. I may end up having to limit these a bit with these longer shocks on here, but I'm gonna try to set the front to where maybe it will drop down a little more, since I do hang this skid a decent amount. So if that front drops down a little farther, maybe it will catch and pull over it. So we'll see how it performs, but there you can definitely see the difference in the length, how much more drop we're getting on this side. Not always a good thing, but a really good shock is always a good thing. So these are very nice and smooth, straight out of the pack. They've got a good feel to them, good spring rate to them. I think these are going to be the perfect setup for this once we kind of get them placed where we want them. So we got them all 4 installed here, and we do got some good flex, but I want to show you why longer shocks, more flex is not always the answer. So before, this would totally stand on its side like this, and it was because this thing was just pulled down a little more, using no bands or anything like that. We just had a little shorter shock, but we can sort of fix that with some bands, and that's why a lot of times I do run bands. If I'm running like a really long shock, like in the rear of this, to get that drop down, sometimes I'll band it. For these, we're gonna band, I think, all 4 of these. I'll probably run it and see if we really need all 4. Maybe we can get away with just the front, but wow, okay, we just lost that one. But me personally, I like to band all 4 corners. A lot of times if you band the center, it pulls down, but when you get on a side hill, it will let one side or the other still move like that, and you'll still drop out. Whereas on each side, you'll still get the drop down, but it'll stay pulled down on all 4 corners. Now, a lot of times people don't like to keep up with these bands because they dry rot. If you want to keep them from dry rotting, just get a little bit of Vaseline and coat them. Just get a little bit on your fingers and run your fingers over these bands. It'll keep them from dry rotting. I do the same thing with my seals on my pool. It works well, but strap it down like that. And then we'll check this thing out. I'll show you guys. It should stand on its side, I'm sure, once we get it banded. So you can see it's got it pulled down, but it will still, that's maxed out already. It'll still drop out when it's needed to. And we still got good flex. But now, if we try to put it on its side, see? Major difference. So that's why I run bands a lot of times. A lot of the time, like in the front on this, I will just run a shorter shock. And then on this one, it's set up so well and it's so lightweight up top, I'm not even running bands anywhere on it. But if you're having that issue with a heavier top end truck like this, and everything's pretty low on this, but it's still, with these long shocks, it just brought all of this up. So that's just kind of my quick fix. So we're still sitting about what we were before. Lots of travel though. Let's go run this thing, see how it performs. So I will say it's kind of hard to show shocks in a video. I mean, you can kind of feel them. You can tell they're working. Being banded, I think we're gonna do just what we were doing before, but hopefully have a little more flex, a little more travel. I do know that the Nexx shocks that I've had previously have never leaked a drop of oil, and all of these come with oil in them in the package. Feels like a great spring rate, great oil rate. They're smooth, so I think these are going to be just as good as the others I've ran, and I didn't see any trace of oil leaking in any of the packages with these. So I think we can count on these being good overall solid shocks. However, just like try to back down stuff just to see what happens. Oh, almost saved it. I love the wheel speed on this truck. We're just driving some crazy lines to check these shocks out. I do like that they offer a couple different length shocks for the Ascent18. These being the 59 millimeter, they're a little longer, so I had to kind of band them, as you've seen. I could have moved them around a bit, probably placed them a little higher on the chassis, and maybe that would have helped shorten them up. But I was trying to get a little more dropout just for the setup that's on this truck and this chassis. But then using the bands to kind of bring them back down a little bit. So I may actually try the 53 millimeter on here as well, just to kind of see how they perform. But it's nice that they give us a couple options. I know for this and the Arktos, they have two different options. I have to look at them and be sure, but giving us a couple of different length options is nice as well. The front of that skid is always hanging, and that's where a little more dropout with the front end, if it wasn't banded, would help. But then I'm really going to struggle on my uphill stuff, so I kind of sacrifice one for the other. You're not going to get just the perfect setup, really, that's going to do everything most of the time. So let me know what you think about the Nexx shocks if you've ran them. I've had good luck with them. I think these are going to fit right in line with what I've ran before. So you tell me how your experience has been. You guys, I'm one person, whereas, you know, versus thousands of people testing them, trying them, running them. So let me know your experience. I try to check them out best I can, but my experience is not always everybody else's experience. You can see there, It's probably hanging a little high on that. I was getting that before. Probably just went a little too high on it. Tougher side hill than it looks. Still pulled it. So I think performance is just really right on par with what I had, honestly, with the bands on there, but I think I'll get a little more travel, a little more dropout. So decent fit for this truck. I appreciate you guys sticking around. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell. Let me know what you think about these Nexx shocks if you ran them. Until the next one, peace.